Hello to the world and anyone out there who's watching. I'm the amazing Tomahawk the J-Cat guy, and I want to try something out today. See, every year the Steam Summer Sale happens, and because I'm a gamer, $80 falls out of my wallet and a bunch of games appear in my Steam library. I don't know how this happens, but I've always wanted to do an annual video basically going over each one real quick and giving my first impressions. I bought 10 games and I'm going to try and give a minute or two to each of them. In fact, most of these games, and I mean most and not all, keep that in mind, I'd be willing to do a full review on one day. So if you want to see me talk more about one of these games, let me know. I need someone to recommend what kind of video I do, because any idea I'd have personally would be too niche to be popular. So be a hero. I'm telling you to, so it's okay this time. Now, you ready for the show to begin? You better be, because this will be a ride. Alright, the show's on the road, let's do this. Get ready. It's Rivals of Aether time. Here's a game you might have heard of. I think you'll recall it as the only good Smash club. While there's arguments to be made for similar games being actually good, there's no denying the relative success of this one in particular. My thoughts? Smash is better. Now, to my surprise, this game is fairly different from Smash, but it's clear to see the inspiration this game proudly wears on its sleeve. Changes are really weird too, like shield is replaced with a parry system. Basically Bayonetta's Witch Time, only it straight up freezes your opponent instead of slowing down time. The game is full of ideas like this that would throw most Smash fans off guard the first time they play this. In fact, none of the characters play like any particular Smash character. They all feel pretty technical, but they're different. Now don't forget, I did say Smash was better, and I meant that. The game's a lot harder to learn, and that indie feel doesn't really work as well for this type of game. And that's coming from someone who plays mostly indie games. Not to mention, the game seems to have much less content than Smash. I liked this game and expected to like this game, but to be honest, that's not why I bought this game. I just wanted to experience ultimate power. I think you know where I'm going with this. Here's Ronald McDonald. That's right, Ronald McDonald. I think this mod is fucking hilarious, and I know I'm literally the worst kind of Rivals fan for thinking so, but this is one of those things you have to do at least once in life, and I'm so glad I did. Also, there's the Dwayne. He can one-shot you with an air. And if you make him fight Ronald McDonald, this happens. Muzon. Ultimate power. And now, it's the Pedestrian time. The Pedestrian is an Apple Arcade game that came to Steam instead because the only person subscribed to Apple Arcade is me. Okay, none of that is true and that last part is only an exaggeration, but I'm telling you, this game feels like that kind of game. If you've played this game and happen to be one of the few people on Earth with Apple Arcade, which I highly recommend by the way, you know exactly what I mean. In this game, you play as that nice man, or woman, who greets you as you enter a public restroom and likes to give you warnings on the road. The pedestrian, if you will. You then go from sign to sign trying to progress. I'm not sure where the pedestrian is trying to get to, but they definitely have great taste in scenery, because the locations in this game are beautiful. They're not real graphically intensive, at least compared to other PC games, but for a game that clearly didn't have a AAA budget, this game looks incredible. And that's without mentioning the soundtrack, which is basically used to enhance everything about the experience. But this is a game in the end, and it'd be a pretty boring one without some kind of gimmick. I have no idea how they came up with this one, because it has nothing to do with real life signs, but You have to rearrange signs so that doors and ladders line up, often to get some kind of item. Again, not the first thing I think of when I see crossing signs, but it is pretty clever nonetheless. The developers were clearly passionate about this game, and it really shows, which is why I'm so glad this game turned out so great.
And now, it's Superland time! Okay, so last Steam Summer Sale, one of the games I got that looked interesting was a game called Pikuniku. I won't go into detail about what the game was, but what you need to know is that the game sold itself as an exploration-heavy puzzle platformer. But it didn't really capitalize on any of the ideas that come with that type of game. I like the game, don't get mad. My point is, Superland was a game I thought I was going to get when I played Pikuniku.
What is Superland? Well, it doesn't really have much of a premise, but rather a setting. You're basically some random stick figure toy some kid put in his sandbox, and from there, the game's a first-person Metroidvania. To set itself apart even more from similar games, the game has a heavy focus on puzzles rather than combat. Puzzles aren't usually my thing, but as long as they don't have some bullshit solution that more or less requires a walkthrough, or has you trying everything to see if it'll work, I'm into it.
I only put about an hour into the game so far, but the puzzles don't seem to fall into either category often. But I can see the puzzles getting way harder, and that's kinda scary, so let's change the subject.
Exploration in this game is fantastic. Basically, whenever you want to go somewhere, there's always something worth it at the end of the trail. I can't think of a single time I was disappointed by a treasure chest. The reason is clear. When you find something, it gives you an ability to allow you to access more of the map. That's literally all you need. You just need a fun way to get to that place you never thought you would. It's satisfying, and it should be. I love what I played of this game so far, even down to the combat, which isn't deeper than exchanging blows with the bad guy. I even like that to an extent.
Please, if you think that this game is the jank fest the Steam page makes it seem like, I'm telling you, it's not. The Steam page does not do this game justice. Also, there's a demo, so, it might be worth a look. And now, it's Joe Danger time!
Now here's a nostalgic game for me. No one remembers this game because the developers went on to make what from the start looked like concentrated boredom in video game form, and that game overshadowed this game as time moved on. But make no mistake, this game did not deserve to be forgotten. It's not perfect, it's not even great, but it's the kind of game that isn't really made today anymore, and that's respectable. Basically, in Joe Danger, you're a stuntman trying to make a comeback after an injury. At least, I think so. The intro cutscene didn't play when I started the game, so that's just coming from memory. The game itself is a platformer, but Trials. But not really Trials. Okay, let me explain this better, because honestly this game only looks like Trials. It really plays more like a 2.5D platformer with an emphasis on speed and tricks, because I forgot to mention this, it's part Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, so there's a trick system. That's a problem I have with the game though. It's one of those games that has you replaying levels, get better, and meet goals so you can get more levels. I fucking hate games like that, but when Tom was small, he didn't care. He just liked that he could do the cool bike thing. Also, he never beat it, because he couldn't do the goals.
Truth be told, the whole game feels somewhat dated. Not in a traditional sense, but rather in a this was made for PS3 kind of way. Like, if you've played some old PS3 games from this era, you know what I mean.
The graphics don't hold up and the controls feel better suited to a DualShock 3. I really wish I had more fun with this game, especially since I loved it as a kid. But it's hard to recommend if you aren't already into games from the PS3 era. Joe Danger 2, on the other hand...
That's right! It's Joe Danger 2, the movie time!
Now this is how you make a sequel. Joe Danger 2, the movie, that's actually a game that's just about making a movie and not an actual movie, took a good look at the first game and was like,
Well, that last game worked real well. Let's do that again, but this time make it better.
Set after the events of the first game, kind of a given, I know, Joe Danger now got the attention of a film director who wants to make the most convoluted action movie ever that encompasses every subgenre of action movie ever made. Guess we'll see how that turns out, but you can actually have fun making a movie, even if it doesn't turn out great. Don't believe me? Play this game. This is an improvement to its predecessor in every way. The levels? They're now exciting set pieces that drive home the idea that you're making a movie. The controls? Made a lot smoother, allowing for more fair platforming. The graphics? I mean, look at them! This game looks so much better than the first one. And that's all without mentioning the new vehicles. Yup, you're not just riding a dirt bike this time. To be honest, most vehicles control pretty similarly, but even then, there's always something that makes each vehicle more than just another dirt bike. The minecart is stuck to a rail, for example.
There's even vehicles that make the game more like a platformer than it already was. There is a f***ing jetpack in this game.
Yes, you heard me right. A jetpack. There's also a pair of skis, and they're pretty cool too, but jetpack. Well, those trying to get the best time are gonna hate the vehicles because they slow down the pace of the game. Casuals, like me, are gonna love this. Like me. If you're worried because you didn't play the first game and aren't caught up on Joe Danger lore, don't be. Neither game really has a story, so you'd be fine if you skip the first. Just never forget the first game. I have too many memories with it.
And now, it's the Mean Green's Plastic Warfare time. Don't make me talk about this game. I barely played it. I'm not qualified to give my thoughts on it. Got it on the Steam Summer Sale, so I guess I have to. Here goes.
The Mean Green's Plastic Warfare is a game that has an interesting, if unoriginal, idea. Basically, you're the army men from Toy Story, and the game's pretty much TF2 from there. At least, it's supposed to be that way. The game's dead, and I could have saved $3 if the damn Steam reviews were honest. But the game looked fun, and the reviews are positive, even though they said the game was thriving, so I bought it. If you couldn't figure it out by now, I couldn't find a game. But I did play the tutorial, so I do have at least some stuff to say about it. This game feels ancient, man. Who in their right mind thought left alt would be a good dodge button? Then I realized the dodge is basically useless because you can walk just as fast. I guess you can get through small openings with it, but why even put small openings to begin with? The game seems to be full of shit like that. You know the kind, those games on Steam that cost basically nothing and turn out to be cheap, janky, borderline shovelware games. While I wouldn't go as far as to label this game as shovelware, I don't think this is the kind of game you'd play for more than a half hour before wanting to play better games. Let's talk about something else now. But before we do, I just want to say this isn't part of the script or anything, but I have to add it like last second. This game just got announced for PS4 and Xbox One. I think Xbox One, I don't know, but I know PS4. I don't know if I'm missing something or like what the deal is, but first impressions are first impressions, so, like, I can't go back and redo first impressions. I gave you mine. Maybe there's something here I'm missing. Back to the video.
And now, it's Resident Evil 4 time!
Yeah, you know this one's getting its own video one day. Especially considering my RE3 video actually got views. But I'm not here to talk about that game. I already did for 40 minutes if you want to check it out.
So, Resident Evil 4, the supposed best game in the series. How is it? Honestly, I don't think I can give you a good answer based on first impressions, so let's reword the question. Did I have fun playing this game? Yeah, I'd say so.
In case you don't know, Resident Evil 4 has you playing as Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 2, who is sent to find the President's daughter in Europe.
For real though, the whole President's daughter trope was so big in the 2000s that when I was a kid, I legit thought having a daughter was required to be president. Anyone remember that? Just me? Okay, let's go back to Resident Evil 4.
The first thing I noticed when I started this game was just how different it plays from the modern games. I mean, I wasn't expecting one-to-one Resident Evil 2, but the fact that turning the camera has you looking in a direction before snapping back when you let go of the stick was a little weird at first, to be honest. A lot of things feel different, but one of the most jarring was the emphasis on combat, which is strongly encouraged in this game. And unlike in some games, the game was actually designed around this. I mean, it's pretty stupid that the bad guys slowly walk towards you when you have a gun pointed at them, even though they are fully capable of running, but it works. If they ran, you would not be able to beat this game. Respectively, everything seems to be designed around the game's mechanics. Again, there are some games out there that don't understand this, so it's great to see a game that does understand this. I could say more, but I'll save that for the inevitable video I make on this game. So, people think the village in Resident Evil 8 is supposed to be the village in this game. There's that.
And now, it's Swords and Soldiers time! Anyone remember this one? No? I do. I could never forget this game. I could try, but I don't want to. This and Joe Danger, a game you've probably heard of by now, were two games I played all the time when I was just a little boy with a PS3 and nothing better to do. Except Little Big Planet. That was better, but... I mean, I wanted to play other games sometimes.
Anyway, Swords and Soldiers was developed by Ronimo, who worked on Awesomenauts. I bring this up because, much like Awesomenauts took a MOBA and made it 2D, Swords and Soldiers basically takes a real-time strategy game, and I think you know the rest. The game has you play as one of three totally not racist factions, with the goal being to build an army and destroy your opponent's base before they do yours. That's basically the gist of it. Get units, destroy base, don't let them destroy yours. As you can tell, conceptually, the game's nothing new for the genre. But keep in mind, they made this game a 2D side-scroller, so it at the very least stands out because of that.
It's also a much better entry point than most games for those new to the genre. Because everyone knows this, but I'll say it anyways, strategy games can be pretty damn hard.
This game makes the genre accessible to those who don't want to think too hard. Good at strategy games already? Well, I haven't tried the harder option since I actually used my PS3, but I do remember this game getting pretty damn hard too in the campaign, which, yeah, there's a campaign, and also on higher difficulties as well. It also helps that, in my experience with the game, making a comeback is actually possible. In these types of games, when you're f***ed, you kinda know you're f***ed and need to raise the white flag. But there were so many times, just in my small, less than an hour recording of this game, where I felt hopeless. Like I was gonna lose the CPU because I didn't feel like going online. But I didn't give up. And if this were any other RTS, I would have essentially lost. But I went all in and formed a strong army. And before I knew it, their base was toast. And I was ready for breakfast.
I honestly wasn't sure how well a game like this would hold up. I mean, it's pretty mindless if you really get down to it, and I never hear anything at all about this game that doesn't come out of my mouth. But, to my surprise, I had just as much fun as I did all those years ago. They even made a sequel fairly recently, and I got that too, so let's talk about it. That's right! It's Swords and Soldiers 2 Schwarmageddon time!
Bag is worth its weight in gold. Treasure hunting time!
Gore!
I've got the treasure! Heading back now!
How do you do it? How do you fuck up a game like Swords and Soldiers? Let's do this real quick. You ever play a simple little game that was fun for what it was, only for the sequel to go, let's add this, and add this, and add this, and change this, and add this, and you basically just want to scream in the developer's ear, it was good the way it was! That's this game.
It takes all the stuff the original did and decides it's not complicated enough. Even down to the art style, which now more closely resembles that from Awesome Knots, but it's just plain ugly. Like, did we really need hero characters to support other troops? No! The game worked fine without them. Did we really need to have gold and mana that needed to be manually collected? No! The game worked fine without them. Did we even need a heavier focus on spells? Pop quiz, did we? I think you know the answer by now, so I won't tell you. The story also seems kinda boring, at least from what I've played. Now there's only one campaign, and it's for the Vikings. The other factions were clearly too racist for a modern game, so they had to go and were replaced. Probably a good move, but anyways, the writing feels much more different than the first game, and not in a good way.
I didn't play much of the first game's campaign for this video, but I remember it did have a decent, if probably dated, sense of humor. This game's sense of humor just falls flat for me. I don't know, it just feels like they took the fun out of the whole Vikings are brutish thing, and instead tried to be more on the nose about it. But keep in mind, I only barely played this game's campaign, and only just recently played a bit of the first game's campaign for like 5 minutes so I could relearn the game's mechanics. So I'm not really the best judge of the writing in this game. That said, first impressions, not great.
I feel like a lot of people would disagree with me, but I didn't enjoy this game. If you felt the first game was too simple, this game will probably do it for you. But as someone who appreciated the original simplicity, I think it's safe to say this game wasn't for me.
And finally, it's Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch Remastered time! This one I've wanted to play for a while. In fact, I almost got it last time there was a big sale on Steam, but I went with Borderlands 3 instead. Not sure which sale or if I regret doing that, but now I have both games, so I can't really complain. This game's basically become a running joke among my brothers because the Nelk boys tried to sell someone at Walmart NHL or 2K over this game's sequel, but they wouldn't go a day without walking up to me and saying, Ni no Kuni! They didn't even know what the game was. Okay, I'll stop. But I'll tell you this much. I don't know about the sequel, but this game's way better than either of those annually recycled real-life simulators.
I didn't get far, but the basic idea of this game is your mom dies trying to save you, and then you go to another world to save it. And I guess bring your mom back. So far, the story's not much new. It's full of tropes and the kinds of characters you'd expect from Studio Ghibli. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't emotional or compelling. The scene where the mom dies is definitely a standout. Like, I know jack shit about this woman, or even her son, the main character, other than the mom plays music, and yet her death is heartbreaking. Just goes to show you don't need heavy and adult themes to have an emotional moment, Persona 5.
I said something that'll get people mad. Quick, rewind!
Just goes to show you don't need heavy and adult themes to have an emotional moment, The Last of Us 2.
There. That's better. What's better? Good.
Anyways, from there it's one of those RPGs that combines real-time and turn-based battles. I have a lot of respect for games like that ever since I played Steven Universe Save the Light. Very underrated game, by the way. So this is something I'd be willing to sink my time into. I don't want to play a 60+ hour long game if I don't feel the gameplay would hold my attention, but I can tell this is something I'd play for a long time without getting too bored. The way the game works is you give a command and then you wait until you can give another command. Which sounds like every turn-based RPG out there, but the way this game differs is each action plays in real time, meaning you actually have to wait before you can act again, while the action's actually happening. There's not much to it so far, but if the idle montage that plays if you wait too long on the title screen is anything to go by, yeah, remember those? Then I can tell the combat gets much more intense as the game goes on.
I can't wait until I actually have the time to sit down and beat this game. But I told myself I'd beat Dragon Quest XI first. I'm 90 hours in and nowhere near the end, so it'll happen. Eventually. Anyways, that's all the games I got from the Steam Summer Sale 2020. Pretty much all of these games I can recommend, except for Mean Greens and maybe Swords and Soldiers 2. But even then, the former is just a dead game and the latter just wasn't for me. I really want to do this again next year and maybe make it a thing I do on this channel. So let me know if you like this type of video. I still want to focus on one game for each video going forward, but this is a special occasion. I might even do something like this for the games I get with my PS5 or something like that. And don't forget, most of these games I'd be willing to do a full video on. So if you want me to do a full review on a certain game, let me know, and I might just do a video on it one day. Anyways, if you like this video, and you want to see more Tom, like this video, maybe subscribe. Honestly, anything that I could say at this part, which is unscripted, I already said in just what I literally just said. But I guess what I could say is that I am working on more videos. I have the script written for the next one, and it's on a game that no one cares about. I'm not going to spoil a surprise, but it's on a game no one cares about, so I don't expect it to get views. But it's something. It's something, and I do want to review other games going forward. Again, any one of these games, or most of these games, like, for example, Ni no Kuni would be way too long for me to actually do a review on. I want to do a review of the Avengers game when that comes out. I want to, there's a lot of games I want to review, and I enjoy making these, so it'd be really great if you, said subscribe, because I like making these. I don't know why I always say that. But anyways, I'm just gonna ask the question I ask into every one of my videos, but no one knows the answer, not even me, and that question is, are you sure you want to quit?